We are now talking to SB Nation, Niners Nation, staff writer Jordan Elliott. Jordan, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys? Just sitting here enjoying this Thursday night game between two of the better quarterbacks in the league. It's nice to watch a game where there's not a question mark every time a quarterback incompletes a pass.
Please
doing
don't.
A lot of that over here in 49er land.
Please don't even bring that up. I mean, I'm a Jet fan, all right? I had to watch Joe Flacco all weekend against the Baltimore Ravens. The unbelievable, boring, quiet, I am lazy in the pocket, Joe Flacco. So I'd rather watch Trey Lance any day. But I'll tell you this, and we'll get into that in just a few moments. How are you doing with the whole COVID-19 situation? I don't know. We haven't spoken to you. This is the first time you've been on the show. So how did you and your family get through that?
Just one day at a time. Sports was a big, outlet for me, being able to stay connected while not being able to attend a lot of events. Just having that as a way to still be connected to the outside world was a big deal. I'm in the Bay Area. We had much stricter restrictions with the COVID pandemic going on for a lot of that time, so it did take quite a while. The 49ers, even in 2020, they were playing home games in Arizona at the end of that season because they didn't even allow the players the restrictions were so tight on the amount of people that could be in one area. Even without fans in the stands, the 49ers had to play their games in Arizona to close out that year. So I don't want to jinx it. I'll knock on wood as I'm saying it, but things are kind of getting back to normal here, and it feels...
It's done. COVID is done. It's done. It's like the flu now over here. Nobody even cares. Oh, somebody had COVID the other day. It's like 5 days and they're back into work. Nobody even cares anymore. COVID's... the 2 years was really like a plague for 2 years, and everybody was afraid, and now all of a sudden, I mean, by the way, there are more people that died from the flu every single year than COVID. So nobody took the flu and still don't take the flu as much as they took COVID over the 2 years that really dumb. And I work in the health field too, so I know all about it, and I was around it. But and I had the sickness, and I was very, very sick after my hip surgery. It was horrible, but nevertheless, let's get into some football. Let's get into Trey Lance, because right now, and by the way, another touchdown by Patrick Mahomes. I'm not surprised. Who was that, Sky Moore?
No, I'm not sure Watson is his last name. I'm thinking it's another tight end. I'm not sure who that is.
Congratulations. 84, so it is. What is this, not true on the flu versus COVID fact? Yes, it is, Carl. Just so you know, Carl, last year, go look at how many people died from the flu to COVID. I'm talking about worldwide. Worldwide, not countrywide. Worldwide. There are more people that died from the flu than COVID last year. And you can check that out. Because I know, because I was at a seminar this past, December of last year, and that's what they were talking about. But nevertheless, Trey Lance, okay, he did not look good in game number 1. Now, I know it was raining in Chicago. It was disgusting. And, Justin Fields didn't look good, and they lost a running back in Mitchell. That definitely affected the way Trey Lance played in the game. What were your thoughts to Trey Lance? Do you think Trey Lance is going to figure things out, or do you believe that this could be very much Jimmy Garoppolo's roster again in the next couple of weeks?
I expected it to be kind of the way it went with Trey Lance. I thought that he didn't play terribly. I don't think outstanding by any means, but after having a chance to watch the coach's film and really dissect it in a way where I had time to break down the game rather than just the initial reaction after, I thought he played well considering the context that it's his third NFL start and that there would be some time for him to gel, and it was going to take a little bit of time to work out some of the mechanical things and get adjusted to being the guy at this level. My takeaway is just that it's going to take some time, and I think the 49ers made a firm commitment to the roadblocks and speed bumps that are going to come with having a young quarterback. You're a Jets fan, you know how it is when you have a guy that's making those mistakes and kind of having those growing pains as the season's progressing. I think that 49ers are banking on the roster around him being so strong that they have a little bit more room to get away with maybe missing a receiver, having an incompletion, not sustaining a drive, knowing that their defense is so good that it's going to allow them to stay in games. And I just think that at this point, I didn't watch that game and come away from it going, if Jimmy Garoppolo started that game, I think they would have won. I understand why Jimmy Garoppolo started towards the back end of last season, particularly when there was an injury that Trey Lance was dealing with that they kind of kept under wraps. So I think that as of now, the commitment is to the future, and the 49ers, it would take something drastic for me to see them making a change. The only way I could see that really happening is if Trey were to have to miss some time because of an injury, and if Jimmy stepped in and they were just clicking on all cylinders, then it might be a situation where Kyle Shanahan's just going to ride the hot hand. There was a similar situation almost a decade ago with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick where that happened, where once Cap came in, even though Alex Smith was having a fine season before Kaepernick came in to replace him when he was injured, Harbaugh, that was the quote, I'm sticking with the hot hand, and that would be more of the outcome that I would see. I don't think it's going to be a situation like Trey Lance could go out and throw 4 interceptions this weekend against Seattle. I don't think the Niners are going to pull the plug on him.
So we saw it against the Bears, too. I think the 49ers really went back to something that was a big issue for them last year. Even though Deebo Samuel had a great season last year, the team offense really struggled when they were trying to only feed him. And I felt that was a big issue. Once the Bears took him away, they really could not adjust to that kind of thing. And the team offense got better when they started to spread it around. Did you see that kind of thing? And is that more of a coaching thing or a Trey Lance thing to you?
I think it just comes down to, again, there's going to be some growing pains and some, Brandon Ayuk, they had a big third down that got called back because Brandon Ayuk pushed off on an out route that, he probably really didn't need to. And if he could take it back, I'm sure he would have. George Kittle missed that game, so that's another weapon that not only affects the passing game, but it also really affects what they could do on those outside runs. That offense is heavily predicated on that wide zone to the outside. So I don't have an issue with the way they were utilizing Samuel. He averaged 6.5 yards a carry, and it felt like once Elijah Mitchell went down, he was the only, reliable ball carrier in the running game. The thing that I would watch going forward, though, is how are they going to be able to adjust to playing from behind? Because that's when I thought things really got out of hand. And, yes, a lot of it had to do with once they were trailing and had to throw, the sky opened up and it started raining much harder than it had been. The offense as a whole, even if the conditions were good, it's more tailored to control the ball, run a lot. We saw a lot of these different looks where Trey Lance is running the zone read. He had 13 carries on the day himself. So I think that it's a team that where once they get behind 1 or 2 scores, I don't feel confident that they're equipped to air it out 20, 25 times in the second half of a game while they're trailing. They need to be able to run the ball. And that's more of the issue that I'd be looking at, not necessarily like target allocation, but just kind of situational football. And how are they going to be able to respond if they get behind 10, 14 points early on in a game?
We are talking to SB Nation, Niners Nation, and staff writer Jordan Elliott. Jordan, Deebo Samuel is a very big, intricate part of this offense. He really is. And you saw on Sunday how important he really is, losing a guy like Mitchell. Now, Mitchell could be out 6 to 8 weeks. And, yes, they have a pretty good running back, system, and they have a bunch of good young running backs right there. But they're going to use a lot of Deebo Samuels now as their top running back / wide receiver. What is your take in Deebo Samuel's right now, going into week number 2, do you think that he dreads the fact that he is going to have to run the ball as much as he's going out there as the wide receiver trying to catch the ball? Or do you think that he's taking this on himself to go out there and be the player that they need him to be?
I think his whole stance this offseason, when a lot of that got a lot of attention and there was the reports that he didn't want to be utilized as a running back, I think he just wanted to be compensated, knowing the toll that getting that amount of carries as a wide receiver and being utilized in that role would take on his body. And I think now that he not only has the guaranteed money he got, but he also has rushing incentives built into his contract, I think he's more than okay with it. I think, again, it was just something that I think a lot of NFL players need to do, which is to look out for their own best interests. And I think that he was just coming from a standpoint of, hey, if you want me to run the ball 10 times a game, I'll do it, but I expect to be compensated in a way that's going to protect me in the event that I should miss time due to the wear and tear that having that kind of workload will take on a player like me. So I think that's kind of my read on it. And it seems like he, is willing to embrace that. They coined it the wide back last year, that kind of role. And it's really hard to envision the offense without him doing that, because even when other teams kind of know it's coming, he is so dynamic with the ball in his hands. And it's not just that he's, very physical and he runs with a lot of power. His ability to take certain angles around the edge on these outside zone carries, and just his ability to navigate in traffic is so special that I think it's at the point where how dynamic he is with the ball in his hands. And yes, you'd like to see him get the ball on some screens and some slants and some balls downfield. But if you need to manufacture those touches out of the backfield, the more times Deebo's touching the ball, the better off your offense is going to be. And I think he knows it. The 49ers know it. And now that he's being paid accordingly, I don't think he has an issue with it as much as it was being reported a couple months ago.
Interesting.
So back to the Elijah Mitchell injury, him being out now for a while. We've seen the 49ers go running back by committee. We've seen Kyle Shanahan just ride the hot hand for 3 straight weeks. And we've also heard some outside rumors, too, of them possibly bringing in some other running backs. Both of the Falcons' dynamic duo that Kyle Shanahan was OC for in Atlanta, Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman. We've heard Coleman obviously just cut by the 49ers recently before he went to the Jets. So do you see that kind of thing? Are they bringing somebody from the outside, or do you think they're going to stick to their in-house running backs?
So they signed Marlon Mack to the practice squad a couple days ago. I don't expect that he would have a heavy workload or even be called up necessarily this week, but he's a veteran who gives them a reliable presence, because beyond Jeff Wilson Jr., who I expect to get the lion's share of the work, it's going to be Ty Davis-Price, their third-round pick out of LSU this year, and then Jordan Mason, who's an undrafted rookie out of Georgia Tech, who was really, really impressive during training camp. I'll be honest, I was there for the majority of the training camp practices, and I thought he was the most impressive back day after day. The biggest issue right now, though, is that you have a rookie quarterback, and you need a running back in the backfield who's going to not only be strong carrying the ball and reliable, not turn the ball over, but also be able to keep the quarterback on both feet when they're in pass protection, particularly on third down. And I think Jeff Wilson Jr. right now gives them the best advantage. The guy who I expect to be out there the most is Jeff Wilson Jr. because he is the most reliable as that guy who can pick up blitzes in pass protection. He's proven that he can carry that number one workload in the past when he's had it. And so I would expect him to kind of be the guy for now, and then I'd expect him to sprinkle in a little bit of Ty Davis-Price, Jordan Mason, and then Marlon Mack as soon as he gets caught up with the offense after some time there.